This is my audience. Welcome. What would happen if people started coming into hospitals complaining of an unknown sickness? Well, according to Cox et al. 2019, the average person drinks and inhales about 78,000 to 211,000 microplastic particles every year. Jenner et al. 2022 state that microplastics are plastic particles between 1 nanometer and 5 millimeters in size, which come from larger plastic items such as drinking bottles, food wrap material, and plastic straws. These are just a few of the common examples of suspected toxic materials which the body can retain in the lungs and throughout the human system. Imagine a size comparable to bacteria or a little grain of sand. Additionally, in recent news, the United Nations had a global plastic treaty conference discussing the stop to PFAS, which are man-made chemicals that we use every day. As college students and future leaders of our community relies on our education of how science can help us to understand the seemingly invisible world that surrounds us. The study of microplastics extends to multiple scientific fields, including biomedical engineering and environmental science. Today in our discussion of biomedical engineering, we will look at the basic course requirements, potential job placement, and details of a day in the life of such a scientist. Biomedical engineers work with other scientists to study and discover possible detrimental health effects of microplastics on the human population. We will cover how a biomedical engineer studies begins, tools that are used for tissue sampling, and what has been revealed so far as of 2023. In the book 50 Years of Biomedical Engineering, Linsenmeyer and Satterbach 2020 explain that the field entails both math, biology, and medicine. Biomedical engineering professionals start out learning core math curriculum and the basics of engineering. As of this fall, 2023, I will be starting General Chem 151, Engineering Graphics and Drafting, Intro to Engineering, and Pre-Calculus Trigonometry. After, a bachelor's degree is necessary for internships and job placement, which allows for the use of state-of-the-art microscopes to identify harmful pathogens. According to Linsenmeyer and Satterbach 2020, this means an in-depth study of cell and tissue engineering through biomedical and health science engineering. One such tool to visualize tissues is a multi-shot pyrolysis unit microscope, which heats specimens in an oxygen-deficient habitat, Leslie et al. 2022. This machine heats up specimens and reveals their natural or synthetic substances called polymers. Now, polymers are many parts, big and small, that come together to make one unit. Secondly, another tool is used, a super microscope called the UFTIR, which can visualize microplastics embedded in the tissues. This machine can observe the functional structure of organic chemicals like human tissues with a beam of infrared light, meaning it can read vibrations coming from molecules. The research provided a sea of microplastics, yet their toxic attributes have not been determined from funding initiatives. While exploring and researching the recent projects that have received funding for microplastic studies, only 4 active organizations are listed in BIB. Working together with the National Institute of Biomedical Engineering and Bioengineering, the NBIB, these organizations help scientists to receive money for preventing, understanding, and treating human diseases. These are many steps and rules for the application process and can be viewed on the National Institutes of Health website, nih.gov. According to the NIH, these 4 active projects received about $1.8 million for microplastic research. The 4 active studies are interested in humogastrointestinal health and environmental agents where microplastics are found. Each group has hopes to observe toxic actions within the body, which, when exposed to microplastics. The research needed to determine the harmfulness of microplastics is not receiving enough funding, even though human lives could be endangered. During an interview with Cam Sherpada, a PhD holder and scientist of neurological studies, she stated, quote, that for funding, there is simply not enough to go around, end quote. Sherpada, 2023, a voice for children's potential health risk of microplastics, also mentioned the United Nations recent meeting. One of her colleagues traveled to Paris and attended the meeting, quoted saying, "Scientists are not actually invited to participate. They attend as part of a government delegation or a nonprofit organization," end quote. which acts on its own to address the social issue. Scientist Mills et al. 2023 published research knowing that it ignored real-life situation of ingested microplastics. Within their publication, they call on future researchers to consider ethics in their work to find actual counts of microplastics. Mills et al. States there are ups and downs of the medical community's research, and collaborations are happening. Biomedical engineers and scientists work together to figure out the toxicity of microplastics on the human population. As mentioned before, high-tech microscopes are used to observe microplastic presence in humans. Measuring the toxic chemicals in human tissues, according to Leslie et al. 2022, has led to the knowledge of their definite presence. Humans are exposed to microplastics from the air, plastic drinking bottles, and soil. Due to the shortness of the speech, you can visit the webpage poison.org and its article, Are Microplastics Harmful?, for more information on origin and prevention of microplastics. During an interview with Shaprata 2023, microplastics have been highly concentrated in human babies and the placenta. The occurrence of microplastics in the bloodstream of humans is of paramount concern, since toxicities are unknown, Leslie et al. 2022. Research provided by Leslie et al. 2022 has mounting concerns for the exposure for microplastics in the human body. Blood flows throughout the body, reaching internal organs, intestinal tract, lungs, and even the immune system. Jenner et al. 2022. The finding of airborne microplastics means that humans are unknowingly inhaling these objects into their lungs. Jenner et al. 2022. Scientists and biomedical engineers use super microscopes to view lung tissues containing microplastics. Jenner et al. 2022 concluded with microplastic identified in all lung regions. They hope this information will be helpful in finding out the toxicity of microplastic in the human tissues. In summary, biomedical engineers require many mathematics and scientific courses to achieve graduation and future job placement. The research involved requires many scientists, engineers, and more funding to achieve goals of finding toxicity buildup and effects of microplastics. Microplastic toxicities are a growing concern for the biomedical engineers and for the human population. Microplastics are an infinitesimal foe for the human beings, yet are a major concern for the future health of mankind. Please go to poison.org to see what you can learn more about microplastics. Thank you.